Hello and good morning out there, traders. It is February 28th, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight. So let's start with our recap from yesterday. Yesterday, we had a pretty straightforward scenario that we were looking for is the full move to the downside into this line in the sand here for the bullish test. And that was our kind of early session plan out of this neutral zone. We were watching this neutral zone and basically looking for a move to the upside to test this list or a move to the downside to test this list. And I was mentioning in the DMI that you pretty much just want to wait and see which way the market kind of moves away from this neutral area, then use it as a way to get involved in that direction. So with that plan kind of covered, we ended up chopping around this zone. Then we saw the breakdown. We saw the move out of it to the downside, and we got a perfect test of our neutral area right here. And that was really the main opportunity to the downside, along with what we were looking for coming back into this line in the sand area. So this is technically scenario one that we were looking for, and moving down into here, it never gets there. It just stops short for us and then starts to rally back up through the rest of the session. So unfortunately, it doesn't go all the way to target, at least not whenever we were trading it. And then of course the overnight session kind of holds in that zone again and shoots straight down. And now we're kind of at that overall test for the bulls. So we'll be looking at that for today's DMI as well. But overall, kind of nailed the scenario out for that downside move from a neutral location heading to our destination. Just didn't quite get there. Stopped about, what's it look like? About 4 points short. So it happens. It's part of the randomness of the market, and hopefully you caught a good portion of this move because it was an easy one to scale out and get a lot of good profitability out of. So now looking at today's landscape, it's a very similar situation what we were seeing yesterday, but now we are in the full test, right? We're in the full test of the bulls and the bears and so forth. So looking at our main scenario here, this is our main line in the sand for the entire session. We're looking at scenario one being bullish up above this zone, heading back into this neutral area. We see that has already happened. So now we're paying attention to this neutral area. If we come back down, we'll be testing this line in the sand again. If we, accept to the upside, we'll be heading up into the overall destination for this line in the sand for today's session. This would be kind of where I'm looking for this market to get to before making the next leg, before making the next decision. So that's the upside move that I'm planning for in today's session. From there, we would be paying attention to this line in the sand up above, and we'll talk more about that in a second. So taking a look at scenario two, that's a breakdown of this area, and then we start heading back into some value to the downside. So if this line in the sand breaks, that's pretty meaningful for the ES. We're starting to see some weakness come into this market, even more so if this line in the sand starts to come under pressure and fail. That doesn't mean it's the end of the line for the bulls because we've seen another time frame working pretty well for the bulls. So if the downside really heats up today and we get below, this is the first destination, then a possible move back into this area here. And that's pretty much all I would be planning for on the downside. This is the main target for me on the downside. Anything extra would be just interesting to watch and see how it develops. Now, taking a look at the upside, if we do make this move all the way across into this bearish area is a destination for us overall to the upside on a different time frame, but it is a roadblock for the overall move that we're monitoring from this line in the sand. The overall move that we're monitoring from this line in the sand is all the way up into here. So that's kind of what we're paying attention to. But there's a roadblock right in the way, and it's this particular area. So we have to get through that area to see any further upside. So the general main plan for today around scenario one is that it moves up into that roadblock. We pay attention to it from there. The roadblock's expectation, right? So this line in the sand up here, this bearish area, is that we get a possible rotation back into this neutral zone, and that would be the completion of that idea. If we break up above, we start to see that transition, and then our bigger, higher time frame area is a little bit more in play to the upside. A little bit of a neutral hurdle there to get through, kind of the last value area that we have to pay attention to the upside, but that would be the overall expectation around the up move with scenario one. Now, like I said, looking at this line in the sand here, so looking at this bearish area, once we get to that zone, the expectations around this bearish area, it's not the main line in the sand for the session. So my only real scenarios are coming from here and here. But up here, once we get there, we can look for a move either down into here, which would be the general expectation for that zone, or we can look for the break up in continuation. That would be in line with scenario 1, continuing to the upside if we got this move through and acceptance beyond the bearish zone up into here. All right, so that's our full game plan for today. Mind your risk, pay attention to process, and let's trade well.